So here we are with episode 3. And with anime, I like to wait till the third episode before I really make a conclusion on whether I'm going to continue with it. Though, if you watch my last two episodes, reviews, then you can pretty much gather what I'm probably going to say. I will continue watching this. If that was suspenseful for you, I don't know why. But anyway, so um, this episode really started piquing my interest with the human side of things. Up to this point, the human side has felt somewhat fillery. There's been a few instances where I've enjoyed, but for the most part, it felt like they were just trying to make the episode long enough while keeping as much story from the spider end of things progressing, so they can have more episodes with less progression on the spider end. That's kind of how it's felt, at least. But this episode really started making me a lot more curious about the other characters. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact you really started to see their personal characteristics and quirks and stuff like that, and understanding a bit of who they are as a person. And one interesting thing is it feels almost like the characters are people we're already supposed to know, and I find that really interesting, especially if, from what I'm gathering. It's the spider end and the human side aren't happening at the same time, which kind of makes sense in that regard because we're learning about the spider, but then when we get to the humans, it feels like we're already supposed to know them. Um, I think part of that has to do with the fact that she's all by herself, and so we're learning about her because of that. But they're in a group with people they already know, and and some of them might have grown up with each other. We're not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure if anyone's childhood friends with each other, but they were at least in the same school for a while. So they know each other, and they don't act like um, we need to know them too much. They just act normal, and a lot of interesting things happened with that regard. You have the girl always who seems to be talking about God and wanting to just level up to become more powerful so she can communicate with God. You have the classmate who's like super cocky, thinks he's way better than he really is, to the point where he starts causing problems. um, and yeah, one of my favorite characters right now, though, in the human end, is definitely Fee. Fee. I can't remember how to say it. For some reason, I cannot remember any of the human names very well. Um, so one of the interesting things with her is just the way she acts is just a lot more interesting than the other characters. Um, and I think it really shows from the previous episode. You find out that she's feeling fairly remorseful and feels like this is her punishment. And I feel like that's what makes her character interesting, because it feels like a lot of the other characters are just kind of enjoying their life in this new world, and she's actually reflecting on her life and actively trying to improve and become better. And the others are just kind of feel like they're just kind of going through the motions to some degree. The prince doesn't quite feel like that, but to some degree, he still does feel like that standard isekai protagonist guy. Um, so she feels different, not just because of she's not human, but because of the way she acts. And then you add the interesting plot where with the Earth Dragon, she ends up eating part of it in order to save everyone, and she ends up getting Kin Eater, which means that she is related to that dragon in some way. They say parent, but we know from the spider end that um, she ate her sibling and got Kin Eater, so it could have been a sibling, could have been a parent, whatever. We're not entirely sure exactly what the criteria for Kin Eater is. If it goes by kin, then technically that would mean your cousins and stuff could also count as that technically. So we're a little unclear exactly. I don't know if we'll ever find out that regard, since the thing is dead, and it also couldn't talk. But one of the things that they also kind of foreshadowed is that the teacher, who's the elf, the teacher who got reincarnated with them, it's like skipping classes. And if you look at the intro, it seems like she's like sad or something like that. So I'm curious what's going on there. But yeah, so the human side is getting a lot more interesting to me, and so I'm really curious about what's going to happen next there. Um, and it's kind of interesting because since I read the manga, and the manga doesn't really cover the human end, it just covers the spider end, and then it has bits and pieces with the human end. I pretty much know the basic story up to a point with the spider. Most likely, what they're going to do in season 1, I pretty much have an idea with the spider end. Um, but the human I'm completely blind and I have absolutely no clue what's going to happen on that regard. So it's kind of interesting because in the middle of the episode, I'll go from knowing what's going to happen to having no clue what's going to happen, and it's kind of an interesting feeling. I've never had anything like that, so it's a bit weird. Um, as far as this episode compared to the other ones, I feel like each episode's getting better and better with the comedy. The animation and CGI mixtures are getting better. There's still a few areas here or there that are a little off, but the CGI seems to be fitting in with the animation a lot better. The Earth Dragon felt off in some ways, but sometimes it actually didn't look out of place and stuff, so that was good. And then some of the her comedy is just great. The Spider's comedy is just the perfect thing ever. Her Spider-Man reference had me dead. I like rewatched it a few times. I even checked to see how accurate her color scheme was to Spider-Man. It was interesting. And even designed New York and I just loved it. It's great. Her reference with the ninja stuff is great too. So just a lot of entertaining references, and then the OP and ED are just absolute killing it every single time. I just can't skip them. They're just those kind of openings and EDs that you just can't skip them. It's really hard. They're just so good. One of the interesting things I did find, I decided to look up the lyrics to the ED because I was curious why Crunchyroll didn't have lyrics for it. Because normally they have like lyrics with some songs occasionally, and then I found one, watched the lyrics, and found out why. If you don't want to be spoiled by anything in the future on the Spider End, do not read the lyrics for the ending song because it is literally the most spoiling thing I've ever seen in my life. It just spoils so many important plot points. So don't. If you want to know what's going on, don't. Just enjoy the song, not understanding what it means, and you'll be much better off. Just enjoy the nonsensical rap stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's not much else I can really think of. So yeah, if you enjoyed, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified whenever I upload other content with regards to this or other animes. So thanks for watching. Bye.